Well, who would have seen this one coming? Mad Max back with the Toronto Blue Jays on a one-year deal.
You are Locked On Blue Jays, your daily Toronto Blue Jays podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to Locked On Blue Jays. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Now the number one sports podcast network, your team every day.
As always, I'm Braden Iwasko. He's Carter First. You can find us on Twitter, Braden5 Iwasko. Carter First, too, as well, on our main Twitter account, at Locked On Jays. Yeah, I don't know. It's quarter to midnight right now.
I imagine a lot of people are going to be up for this one. Luckily, I guess this happened today out of all days. It worked a little bit better for us, but like for MLB, agents, executives, like can we, maybe make the signings at during business hours? Like I'll take Max Scherzer, don't get me wrong, but why couldn't this be done, either tomorrow morning or, any other time rather than at this point at night? But hey, Max Scherzer is back with the Toronto Blue Jays. I guess I'll throw it back over to you. Like initial reactions. We knew this was a possibility, but I didn't necessarily think it would happen this quickly.
Yeah, no, John Heyman reports that Max Scherzer is re-signed on a one-year deal with the Toronto Blue Jays. Now, before we get into anything, the funny story out of all this, before we really get into it and break it down, I'm on Twitter, and somebody's brother-in-law's sister is at the Leaf game in Tampa. John Schneider sitting in front of her and told her the Jays have signed Max Scherzer. That's how this originally got online. Crazy way to start the evening for those people, but Max Scherzer is rejoined. This just brings up a whole heck of a lot more questions than it does really give us answers. And we have talked about Max Scherzer time and time again through this offseason about is there a possibility that he comes back? What's the likelihood? And I think what we're starting to see is the Blue Jays realizing through all of their starting pitching in not only spring training, but I think some of the injuries that happened in the offseason towards the end of the year last year, that things can go south very quickly with one injury. So Carter, I guess, I don't know, where do you want to start on this? I guess your original thoughts. I was lying in bed, ready to call her quits for the day, and you shoot me a quick phone call. So when you first saw it, a reaction?
So again, just surprised it happened this quickly. I had a feeling this was going to happen with this, how long the talks were ongoing for. Like it seemed like they never broke camp. They were never out of each other's ears. They had continued contact, what seemed like throughout the entire offseason. I still think at this point, Max Scherzer's not going to pitch in spring training, but my first reaction was, you sign Max Scherzer, you sign him this early. There's got to be something else going on, right? Whether it's a trade, whether it's Shane Bieber, maybe not being in the spot that they expected him to be. Maybe it's Jose Barrios. I'm not sure who it is necessarily, but it makes me think that somebody else on this rotation is not going to be as expected, at least what the Toronto Blue Jays expected going into 2026. Because now we're getting to the point where this is a lot of pitching depth, don't get me wrong, but I think there has to be a reason that you go out and get this additional pitching depth. And 41-year-old Max Scherzer, who honestly, for me, has some health concerns in his own regard.
Oh, for sure. I mean, we can't disregard what happened in the majority of last season, but we just had a major conversation in regards to Eric Lauer. Will there be a trade? Will there not? And we just get this comment, 8 starters. Now what? Lauer for a bullpen piece? Yeah, that's the big question. We just had this big conversation about how depth in pitching is so important, but now it's getting to the point where there's so many pieces that you have to believe somebody's getting moved. Who will that be? What'll it be for? It really depends on who it is, right? What could they get for Jose Barrios if that's the case? What could they get for Eric Lauer if they go that direction? Or, like Carter said, is there a big injury that we're just not quite aware of yet?
I think, let's kind of break it down and let's go over it. Who would the possible trade candidate be, or who would be the one that maybe has that uncertainty? I think for me, there's 4 guys in this starting rotation that would never be moved in a trade scenario. It's Kevin Gausman. If you want to be a serious competitive team, you're not moving off of Kevin Gausman. You just signed Dylan Cease to a 7-year contract. You're not moving off of Dylan Cease. Trey Savage. That would be the most bewildering trade notification that I've ever gotten in my entire life. And then the other one is actually Cody Ponce. And I think just based off of his first spring training performance and this quote from John Schneider, which definitely runs true for me. John Schneider is pretty straight up with the media, and this is what he had to say. The expectation is Cody Ponce is pitching as a starting pitcher in the rotation. That's why we sought him out, and that's why he sought us out. So Cody Ponce, if he is anything similar to what he was in Korea, which early on, very early on, albeit he does look like he is bringing over the same velocity, the same spin rate, which is a very good sign. So I have him as that number 4 guy. Shane Bieber would be there if he was healthy. So that's how I have him on the outskirts. Eric Lauer would be another guy. Max Scherzer, you just signed. You're not going to trade Max Scherzer. There's no market for Max Scherzer. So it's really Barrios, it's Eric Lauer, and it's Shane Bieber with, for me, Eric Lauer now really being rifled into that spotlight as a probable trade piece for the Toronto Blue Jays.
Yeah, I could sit here and try to guess what it's for, who is it with, but I mean, that's just completely useless at this point because things happen in the MLB that nobody suspected. I mean, who would have thought that we would have gotten a Max Scherzer signing at 11:53 at night? So this excites me. Again, we talk about you needing to get your floor to a certain level when you want to reach the World Series. You can't have guys that are going to weigh you down this season. And I'm not saying that Max Scherzer is going to come in and give you 150 innings. We talked about it. I feel like we're having the same conversation we did when he signed last season. You're not signing Max Scherzer to have 150 innings. You're not praying to God that he gives you every 5th day. You're bringing in Max Scherzer to maybe give you some spot starts here and there every 6th, 7th, maybe 8th day even, who knows. And then you want him for late season when he can really dial it in and give you the Mad Max on the mound that he's been doing his entire career. And exactly what we saw last season was that in crunch time when you needed Max Scherzer the most, this is a guy that completely upped his game from what we saw all season and gave you everything, legitimately everything that he had. And so I'm happy that he's back, not only for what he can do on the diamond, but what he's going to do with some of these younger pitchers or the guys that are recently brought in. And maybe they use him as a little bit of a developmental tool. Dylan Cease wanted to try to up his game. Cody Ponce wants to try to up his game. Trey Savage, still a young guy, still has lots to learn. And when you have a Hall of Famer and Max Scherzer sitting on your bench talking to these guys, that is so overlooked, and I think so overlooked last season. I think this is just a signing that has a lot of positives, and again, you sort of know what you're going to get. So I don't really see a negative here, besides the fact that it's showing us that there probably will be a trade in the works.
I think there's one more possibility here, but I'll just go over like the main options and the main reasons why the Toronto Blue Jays signed Max Scherzer. I think a lot of it is due to that expertise, due to the professionalism that he does possess, and just the experience that he has, just how knowledgeable Max Scherzer is. It's not a bad idea to have that guy in the dugout. But I think the contract will be a very interesting piece of this as well, because I think that will really allude to how the Toronto Blue Jays are going to deploy Max Scherzer. But the way I see this happening is we've already known that Trey Savage is going to be on an innings limit. He's not going to go out there and pitch 160, 170 innings.
Yeah.
When Trey Savage needs that break, because Max Scherzer's not going to be ready for opening day. I think that's fairly obvious. He hasn't really pitched at all. He's 41 years old. He probably doesn't want to pitch in spring training. He's not going to be in a rush to ramp up. So what I assume is going to happen is that Max Scherzer is going to be that guy if Trey Savage needs that off day. If Kevin Gausman needs that spot start, that needs that skip. I don't expect it as much to be like the season Gausman, but with the guys like Barrios, the guys like Bieber, the guys like Trey Savage, the guys that they're trying to be a little bit more cautious with, that's where Max Scherzer is going to come in and probably get his work. It's tough to speculate right now with just all what's going on with this rotation. Like there's 8 guys, as we just covered, that could possibly start games for the Toronto Blue Jays. So I'm not even going to try to throw out like innings, what I'm expecting off that. But this signing is more so for, I would say, the second half of the season rather than early on.
Well, and so a little bit of rumors that came out in regards to the contract when they were talking, when we covered this a few days ago on the podcast, it was looking to be around a $10 million deal with money deferred.
That's a lot
for tax
for
purposes.
If it's $10 million, like for what his services are probably going to be for the Toronto Blue Jays. Again, it's Major League Baseball, $10 million for the Toronto Blue Jays isn't that much.
Well, so get this. Even more to that, apparently there were deferral talks as well to bring that salary for this season down to only $2 million. Now, will that be the final deal that we see? I don't know. Those were the rumblings. Those were hearsay online, but it's a possibility that maybe they're having Max Scherzer with some type of deferral and get him for $2 million this year. Even if it's $10 million, even if it's the $10 million straight up, I always talk about, I don't care about the money. This doesn't matter to me, but $10 million for Max Scherzer and what he could potentially give you, not only on the diamond, but in the bench as well, helping these guys, I think that's an absolute steal, Carter.
Do you think we're going to see exactly what Max Scherzer did last season throughout the first 3 months of the Toronto Blue Jays this season? How he just kind of hung out in the dugout. You saw him talking to people, maybe throwing sunflower seeds at Vladdy, whatever it ended up being. Not having an impact in the dugout, but not really having an impact on the field. Do you kind of see that as a gradual uptake in Max Scherzer's performance and just his usage throughout the season?
It's going to be different than last year, right? I don't think they expected the injury to be what it was last season, and I don't think that is going to be as big of an issue this year. I think Max Scherzer has refound it, and he will pitch like you talked about with the spot starts with Trey Savage. He's not going to go out every fifth day. So if he goes out every once in a while, he feels out his thumb and his arm and everything like that, and he makes sure he feels good that day. You go as long as you can, and then you get a bunch of days off for rest, and then you come back in another 8 days or whenever you want to pitch. It's going to be a very interesting ride here with Max Scherzer, I think. I don't want to specifically say what it'll be for every single day. Like, Max Scherzer could be scheduled in for a start, and then, day of, it's somebody else. Or, we don't know when Max Scherzer's next start's going to be, and then it randomly is a Tuesday that, just it happens to be, and they switch things up. That could sort of be the game that they're playing here, Carter.
There's a bunch of different games they could be playing here at this point. Going down the rotation, looking at the depth last year compared to this year, it's just it's incredible. Clearly, the Toronto Blue Jays identified a problem, and they're in overdrive trying to fix it. There's still a few more things we want to go into, just the fallout. Not really fallout. I guess people are excited about Max Scherzer, and they should be, but there's a lot of questions to be asked, and we will continue to answer them after this short break.
Today's episode brought to you by... Okay, we're going to hit the break. There we go. Today's episode brought to you by Game Time. Everything's a little slow today, but Game Time is back. Make sure you guys go and use them as your premier ticketing site. Opening day is almost here. And whether it's a breakout rookie or a division race that goes down to the wire, there's nothing like being in the ballpark for it. The only problem, getting tickets can feel like a grind. Long queues, surprise fees, prices jumping at the checkout. That's where Game Time comes in. Game Time app gives the advantage back to fans, constantly innovating. It's how they unlock amazing tickets and experiences in just a few taps. It's simple, easy to use. The Game Time guarantee means you get 100% authentic tickets delivered on time at the best price. And here's the best part. Fees are included in the price you see. So what you see is what you pay. Again, take the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code LOCKEDON for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. So, Carter, just continuing on. I know we're getting a lot of comments and
this is a live stream, hey? The Wi-Fi is our first live stream, I think, in the new place, actually.
That's right. I'm still trying to figure out everything.
Wi-Fi's not on our side at this point. But, yeah, a few more things that we want to cover with Max Scherzer. I guess for yourself, just overall, just the player Max Scherzer is, just having that presence back within the Toronto Blue Jays facilities, just having his personality and just being able to watch Max Scherzer for what should be, around 162 games, whether he's participating or not. How does it feel just to have a surefire Hall of Famer back within the Toronto Blue Jays organization?
Yeah, it's always good. Again, we thought it was going to be a one-off season, obviously, and I said, this would be one of those jerseys that you buy 10 years down the road just to say you have the Max Scherzer Toronto Blue Jays
He's running
jersey.
It back. He's not finished. Job ain't finished.
Job ain't finished. You're right. And you know what? I think the way he was talking at the end of last season, when he was bringing up that he really wanted to make a push and he felt like they had it, and I mean, obviously, with being 2 outs away, they were right there. So I think Max Scherzer was never a guy that was going to go and play for a random team for so much money. At this point in his career, he wants to be with an organization that he feels like can win. And I think what the Toronto Blue Jays showed, not only him, but a lot of other teams, other players last season, is that they are there. So I'm pretty astounded right now that he did come back and the Toronto Blue Jays made that decision. Again, I don't want to judge anything too early because again, this happened 25 minutes ago. But overall, I'm happy. I think if you look at this and anybody's upset about this from what he gave you last season, especially in crunch time, you just got to be happy with this, Carter.
Yeah, there's some other spin zones that you could have.
Sorry, I'll cut you off quick. We did get the salary for this as well. So he's returning to the Blue Jays per John Hyman. Just reported $3 million in base salary with up to $10 million in incentives. So there you go.
That's a great contract for the Toronto Blue Jays. I'm assuming there's some innings limits. I'm assuming maybe there's like ALCS. a possible World Series, ALDS. There's definitely playoff incentives thrown in there. And that's what it should be. Because with Max Scherzer, you're not signing him, or you shouldn't be signing him for, again, the every fifth day thing, which we've really, kind of driven in at this point. But Max Scherzer is that guy that you want for the big moment. So if that incentive is for the playoffs and the Toronto Blue Jays get to the playoffs, I think that is a very worthwhile signing. And if they don't use those incentives, the year probably didn't go as expected in $3 million in MLB terms, at this point. Definitely not a whole lot. So that was actually the one thing I was going to say is if the contract, depending on what it looked like, but now we got that answer. And I guess the last question that I'll ask you, which I have a pretty clear-cut answer. Some people are throwing this idea out. With still a long man available in the bullpen, you still have a ton of starting pitchers, but is that something that you would be comfortable rolling Max Scherzer into? Would you want to see Max Scherzer out of the bullpen? Or would you want to see him continue to be stretched out over the season?
No, it's a fair question. No, personally, I don't think it's going to happen.
That's where I'm at too.
I just think at this point in Max Scherzer's career, that's not why he's coming here. He's not coming here to be a reliever. He's coming here to make starts, give you starts, and I think he knows what he can do. And I think the Toronto Blue Jays pitching staff and management also know what this guy can do. So again, this isn't a guy that's going to be your ace and give you a ton of innings, but I think he's going to be a very valuable piece. I think if anybody's talking about him coming out of the bullpen, I think that's absolutely crazy. I just don't think that the Toronto Blue Jays, if they're looking for a bullpen arm, they go to Max Scherzer. You go to Max Scherzer because you want a starting pitcher.
But how are you going to have Max Scherzer on this roster is down to the next question. When you already have so much traffic within the starting rotation, and maybe there's a trade, maybe there isn't, but then you still have to have, the stereotypical bullpen arms, the ones that you trust in the 7th inning, the 8th inning, the 9th inning. Maybe Max Scherzer could be one of those guys that comes in long relief. Maybe your starter has a blow-up performance, but now, again, we're at the point where is it Max Scherzer? Would you prefer Shane Bieber? Would you prefer Jose Barrios? Or would you prefer Eric Lauer? Good spot to be in, but I have really no idea how you answer this question, 25 minutes after Max Scherzer is signed. I thought we'd have a little bit more time to, see what was happening throughout spring training and see what the performances were like on the field. But I think this is the new headline of spring training. What in the world? If it wasn't already the headline, what in the world is the Toronto Blue Jays going to do with this starting rotation, especially on the back end?
So just a quick update for people. We have an episode coming out tomorrow. It is in regards to what Alek Manoah said to the media, which is absolutely insane. So please go and check that out tomorrow. You will be shocked. I'm sure some of you have seen it already. We'll talk about that tomorrow. A little bit about Cody Ponce and Okamoto. A little bit of Ernie Clement in there as well. This will be available on all audio platforms as well. Make sure we get that out tonight so you guys have 2 things to listen to tomorrow morning as you head into work or back from work or whatever you want to do, however you listen to it. But we appreciate everybody tuning in. The comments, if you haven't, leave us a comment about Max Scherzer and how you feel about him being back, because we'll be back with you guys tomorrow and an episode on Friday, which I'm sure will lead the episode on Friday now of what do we do as Toronto Blue Jays fans? Do we go absolutely berserk because this is going to be another fun season bringing all these guys back? Carter, any last words from you before we kick out of here for the day?
No, it's going to be fun. There's a lot of questions, but there's a lot of answers that I'm willing to look forward to and willing to figure out how everything pans out. Thank you guys for watching, and like Braden said, we'll be back with you guys with our regularly scheduled programming tomorrow.